army are on the streets, as are the riot police, who you can see as you drive around, as I did a short time ago, driving around the city. The protesters say that they'll be staying at the hospital for the time being, although some of them have said to me that they would consider a possible another march towards the Pearl roundabout. Others, though, say that is highly unlikely given what has happened and the fact that we've had these injuries and we may well have some more deaths. The latest situation on the casualties, I understand, is that one man is very gravely ill and doctors don't think he will survive the night, and 3 others are in a very serious condition right now.
Well, it certainly seems that the situation has escalated. Even before the latest violence, the U.S. had called Bahraini authorities to express concern for the situation there. In light of what's happened, how concerned do you think that the authorities of Bahrain are with the possible reaction from the U.S., of course, one of their big allies?
Well, I think before this latest incident, most people thought that American pressure may have had an effect, and that's why perhaps there were marches this morning, funeral marches, and they were allowed to go ahead with no police presence whatsoever were to be seen anywhere near those protests. But no one expected what happened when the protesters left the funeral wake that they'd have been attending and headed towards the Pearl roundabout. This time, we believe that the shooting came not from the police, but from the army, something that has shocked people across this small country.
Our correspondent there in Manama in Bahrain, who we're not naming for security reasons. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, of course, thousands of people took part in those protests. One of them was Ala Shehadi, a pro-democracy activist who was in Bahrain participating in the demonstrations. She is now in Doha. She spoke to me a little bit earlier and gave me her reaction to the military crackdown on the protesters.
Immediate and urgent action needs to be taken now to stop what's going on in the streets. The Crown Prince says that he does not want to take any impulsive decisions. He must take the impulsive decision to stop spilling the blood of innocent people on the streets of Bahrain by telling the regime that he is a part of to stop shooting at innocent people on the street indiscriminately.
And just remind us quickly what it is that you and other people like you who were demonstrating want to achieve with these protests.
Well, we've been asking for decades for more public participation in the affairs of the country. We're calling for a new constitution in which there is a better representation for the population of Bahrain, a true democratic force that we actually voted for in the National Charter, that would turn Bahrain into a true constitutional monarchy with true participation and representation, and an end to the corruption and a more equal distribution of wealth and more equal rights for everyone in Bahrain.
The experience there of one of the demonstrators in Bahrain. Well, let's go to Libya now. There's been more violence there. Police crackdowns left at least 20 people dead in the east of the country. Hazim Sika reports now on the unrest in Libya's second largest city, Benghazi. A quick warning, you might find some of the images in his report disturbing.
A defiant show of support for Libya's strongman. State TV shows Muammar Gaddafi with cheering crowds in Tripoli, rallying behind the man who's ruled them for 4 decades. It's in the face of widening protests that may be the most serious challenge yet to his regime. Inspired by events in Tunisia and Egypt, the biggest demonstrations have been taking place in the country's second biggest city, Benghazi. A number of videos posted on YouTube, but which we cannot independently verify, appear to show the violent response from security forces. Gunshots are clearly heard, and a young man with what looks like a bullet wound to his head is found near a large pool of blood. And witnesses say more demonstrations have been taking place in Benghazi on Friday.
What's happening in Benghazi is a big massacre. People are being killed on the streets. People are demonstrating peacefully. They are asking for a decent life, not more than a decent life. There is in front of me, in front of the main court in Benghazi, more than 50,000 people.
With tight controls on media and communications in Libya, it's been difficult to confirm the extent of the protests and the violence. But with the regime vowing to crush any further attempt to challenge Gaddafi, more unrest is likely to come. Hazem Sika, AlJazeera.
Well, for more on this, we're joined now by Bashir Lassibai, who's Secretary General of Araya Human Rights Organization. The organization lobbies for more human rights in the Arab world. Mr. Lassibai, thank you very much for joining us. The problem with Libya right now is it's very difficult to ascertain exactly what's going on because of restrictions placed on the media and getting information out. We saw some pictures there which are pretty shocking in that report. Do they correlate with the kind of things that you're hearing coming out of Libya?
That's true. I mean, it does to a big extent. What's happening in Libya now? Today there was lots of reports since Wednesday, actually, last Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Today, every night there was, every day actually, there was protest, and there was the police that want to make sure that these protesters are gone home, and they don't. They are very persistent, and they are peaceful protesters, but they are combated by tanks and by machine guns and by live ammunition, not even rubber or other things, you know. And they nowadays, what we hear from reports that Benghazi has fallen into the hands of the people against the government. And what happened that even the police and the military police have taken their uniforms and joined the people struggle against the
well, that may be the case for the police, but we're also hearing the Revolutionary Committee has said it's going to start shooting on demonstrators. It's been quite open about the action that they're going to take if people continue to demonstrate. How worrying a development do you think that is?
It is very worrying. Libya now, it's not only Benghazi, Tripoli as well, and most of the cities now, even Zawiya and other cities, Nalut and Jadu and Zintan and Tajura, Damani, all those areas in Tripoli are joining in protest now. And the situation now is a human catastrophe, a human rights catastrophe. Now,
you mean before these demonstrations as usual, or just now? Now it's worse.
It's worse now. It's worse now. Every day is getting worse and worse. And the situation actually, they're claiming more lives than before. This morning it was 42 dead in the east of Libya. Now it's 72, and it's more coming out now. And the situation is more inflaming because all the other cities in the country are joining the uprising, because this dictator rule of 42 years, dictator rule that he knows nothing but to kill and to punish and to prison. And already some prisons now are opened and taken out because of this for the rights.
Again, I'll stress it's difficult to get concrete information out of Libya for a variety of reasons. How difficult has it been for your organization? You deal with human rights in the Arab world.
Right.
So even before this recent uprising, how difficult was it for you to get an idea of the sorts of human rights violations that might be occurring in Libya?
Well, it is very difficult usually to get any information from anyone at the beginning, all right? Until you